Early Sunday morning.
Oh, yes.
Not here to talk to you about football. Here to talk to you about last night's UFC 93 card.
From Dublin, Ireland.
Yes. Now, for you folks out there who saw our prediction video, I went out on a limb and picked Dennis Kang to win in the second round by submission, and somebody gave me crap because I picked the guy I don't know anything about. Guess what? I picked the right round. I picked the right way to win. I picked the wrong fighter.
Right.
Because Belcher said,
yeah, I mean, we got a rash of shit on the message boards and everything about not knowing a lot about Dennis Kang. I obviously said that he had fought over in Korea. People were rattling off. He had a 17. Guys, how do you don't know anything about this guy? He's on a 17-fight win streak. No. He was on a 17-fight win streak. He had lost 2 fights, one this year, one in 2007. He's an incredible fighter.
He's got an impressive pedigree. Nice card.
Right.
I mean, nice record.
Yeah, like because during a 3-year streak, he had 22 wins and no contest and a draw. But since then, he had lost a couple fights.
Right.
And
it's a lot different fighting in Pride and fighting in UFC. Like a lot of you have seen Crow Cop. Phenomenal in Japan. Everyone loves him. He's probably as big as Hello Kitty and Bob Sapp.
Right.
He steps into the cage and gets wrecked.
Right.
So, obviously, Kang, I don't know if he's fought in a cage before or not, but he didn't do too well last night and got caught in the guillotine in the second round.
Done deal. Moving on to Jeremy Horn and Rousimar Palhares.
Yes.
Tokino. This fight, I mean, Tokino got the unanimous decision. I mean, 30-27.
And he stuck what he's good at.
Yeah.
He's obviously big on the ground game. He's going to take you down. That's his thing.
Yeah.
It just didn't. I mean, Jeremy Horn didn't have much for his takedowns. He couldn't defend them.
Yeah, Jeremy Horn is an incredible fighter. He's got an incredible record. He has gotten a tremendous amount of fights. But it's starting to show. I mean, I think most people out there would agree with me that it's starting to show. Tokino just dominated with takedowns, ground and pound.
Muscled him all around. I mean, by the end of the match, he was tired, but even then, he still got Jeremy Horn in the double leg takedown.
Double leg takedown. I mean, they both of the fighters were breathing heavily by the second round. Horn, I landed a couple good, decent leg kicks, but that was pretty much it. There was no damage ever done to Tokino. He just dominated the fight.
Right.
Okay.
Why this fight was even on the card is beyond me. Because if you guys remember, originally Coleman, prior to this, was supposed to fight Brock Lesnar but got injured. Let me explain something to you, Mr. Coleman. You should be happy you had to fight Rua.
Yeah.
Because what Brock Lesnar might have done to you would be nothing compared to... I mean, Brock Lesnar would have murdered Coleman.
The funny thing is, George, is that Coleman had 2 years off. Rua had a 17-month layoff. So it was a slow and sloppy fight. Mm-hmm. Obviously 3 years ago, these guys met in Pride where Rua dislocated his elbow. A bunch of shit broke out at the end of the fight. There was a lot of bad blood between the two camps and between the two individuals. And so Rua was definitely wanting to, kind of get a little bit of revenge on it. And he did.
Came in the third round. I mean, Coleman by the end of the first round was breathing really heavy. He looked out of shape. But my hat's off to any man over 40 years old who wants to continue to fight. Him, Randy Couture, Chuck Liddell's getting up there, Tito Ortiz is getting up there. All these guys who are there to help build the UFC into what it is today. Yeah. It might be time to, go, what, this has been fun. I've done the best I can. Now it's time to walk away.
It's just amazing, man, to see these guys fighting. I'm that age, and I can imagine going one round in the fucking but I mean, it shows sometimes with conditioning with age. Sometimes it does show. Coleman by the second round was completely. I mean, he was very winded to the point where he couldn't defend himself. He was getting nailed. And I mean, with 24 seconds left in the fight, bam, that's it.
And in typical Coleman fashion, he loses and he immediately argues with the ref. This man is the most ungracious loser I've ever seen in my entire life. Sometimes there's just look, I got beat.
Yeah.
And then you just walk away. But he gets so amped up for these fights. Whenever a ref calls it, he loses it.
Yeah, and he immediately said he wanted a third fight with Rua. But if you really look at it, for what? I mean, he lost his fight. I think if time went on, Rua would probably get that much better. That's just my personal opinion. And the first fight actually wasn't that he beat Rua. I mean, he slammed to the ground and Rua dislocated his elbow.
He posted his arm wrong and dislocated his elbow. And so, Mark Colman before this fight said, "That's not luck. That's just him not being that good." Are you kidding me, dude? Come on, man.
Anyway, moving to the headliner.
I'm not taking anything away from Dan Henderson and Rich Franklin. I'm really not. But I was personally disappointed to see these two guys headlining a fight. And to have the draw be the winner of this is going to be the coach of Team America versus Team Ireland or Team England in the next Tough Enough house.
Right.
That's not a good draw. Not after the card you just had. And again, I am not taking anything away from Dan Henderson. I'm not taking anything away from Rich Franklin. But you cannot try to sell me a pay-per-view on the fact that the winner of this is going to be a coach.
Right.
I don't care.
And another thing about this pay-per-view is just everybody in the States just really got. I mean, looking at what the card offered in '92 was such a big, so many big headliners, and then '93 did not have a lot of big headliners. I mean, these are great fighters. All of them are great fighters. But you're looking at being in the States, paying $55 to see a pay-per-view that you could find the result at. You could know the outcome. Anyway, with all this being said, everybody who was looking at this fight was saying that a long fight favored Franklin and a short fight would favor Henderson, and in fact, it was the complete opposite.
Exactly. Henderson ended up winning the fight in a split decision, and my biggest problem with the fight is looking at how the judges scored it.
Right.
Now, if the judges continue to score this fight this way, you're going to run into what boxing falls into. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're a judge and I'm a judge, we've both been trained to be judges, we both are looking at the same thing. Ideally, we should both be judging the same thing about the same way.
And seeing the same shit.
So you have one judge give it to Henderson 29-28. Another judge gives it to Henderson 29-28. The other judge goes 30-27, Rich Franklin?
Right.
How?
I think Rich Franklin would even have told you that he didn't win all those rounds. I mean, Rich Franklin poured it on in the third round, and I'm telling you, that's the best round of the fight. If the fight was a 5-round fight, I think it probably would have went Franklin's way. That wasn't the case.
Well, you know what? Maybe they should make all main events, regardless if it's a belt or not. If you're considered the main event fight, make it go 5 rounds.
Right, so you won't run into these problems. Because, that fight started to me to get the most interesting in the last round. Henderson definitely, with all that being said, the first and second round, Henderson had control of the fight. Franklin wasn't able to do much. Stand up, they looked pretty evenly matched, to be honest with you. I don't think a lot of people thought that. But by the third round, Franklin seemed to be working his game into play a little bit more. Now, by that time, I mean, there was I believe he got poked in his eye in the third round, and that called for the fight to be stopped for a second.
There's an incidental headbutt in the first two. That cut Franklin, and he was bleeding pretty good, but
I mean, with that time being stopped in the third round, he wasn't able to pop his
maybe between the eye gouge and the headbutt, that's how the judge saw it, 30-27 for Franklin. But what I want to talk about is, where does this leave Dan Henderson? You're looking at a fighter who naturally walks around under 205 pounds. He said at the weigh-in, "Do you want me to weigh in with my clothes?" Right. Last time he fought Anderson Silva at $185, he won the first round. Henderson did, but then eventually, he lost the fight. I think I would rather see Dan Henderson fight at 185 versus Anderson Silva again than watch him fight at 205. Yeah. Versus who? Is he going to go fight Rampage?
Yeah. I mean, Rampage. The thing is you're trying to make matchups.
Here's a matchup. Here's a headline of another pay-per-view. Rampage Jackson versus Keith Jardine. Are you kidding me? That's the main event? Come on. Neither hold a belt. No, Rampage is coming back. Just phenomenal knockout of Wanderlei. Right. What just happened to Jardine? He just got knocked out by Wanderlei. So is this to revenge his... I don't...
some of these the upcoming fights, it's just like they're putting them together just to have one almost an event every month. One of the big things that with Rua winning the fight, now he's going to be meeting Liddell. Yeah. I think that's a good matchup.
That'll be interesting.
It will be an interesting fight, but some of these other matchups, it's just like they're throwing them out there. You know what I'm saying? I don't think...
And I'm going to tell you right now, UFC 94 has overshadowed UFC 93 this whole entire month.
Yeah.
Most people didn't even know. Most people I talked to thought this UFC was going to be on Spike TV.
Right.
Let me tell you,
it should have been on Spike TV. Yeah, it should have been on Spike TV. With all that being said...
that's our recap of UFC
93. Everybody, feel free to leave some comments. Actually, take your butts over to uncutsports.com. Join our forum.
Right.
We just had a forum built probably a week ago.
2 weeks.
So get over there, sign up, it's a free account, talk some shit.
And there's actually a girl there. There's girls in cyberspace, if you believe that.
I don't. Anyway, take care, everybody.